The History of Shoplifting. Everyone and everything in existence is a thief on one level or another. Stealing is an evolutionary survival mechanism that has existed since the dawn of time. In order for a living thing to survive, it must steal another's life for sustenance. Herbivores survive by stealing the lives of plants. Predators survive by thieving the lives of animals. Lions steal the life of a zebra and hyenas steal a zebra from the lion. Many species of birds steal things like lace, yarn, and string to make nests. Some birds will actually steal other birds' nests to raise their own young. Theft is part of the circle of life. The biggest difference between theft in the animal world and theft in the human world is pretty simple. Animals don't have a concept of whether or not stealing is good or bad. Humans, on the other hand, like to make up moral truths of what a person should or shouldn't and what is wrong or right. What is the nature of truth anyway? Is truth truly fact? Or is truth merely what most people in a society agree upon? For thousands of years human society has seen theft as a crime punishable by death. Thieves in religion. Shoplifters have been around since the dawn of time. The Greek god of thieves called Hermes represented all those who used their wits for mischief, which includes shepherds, travelers, merchants, and thieves. Hermes used his godly five-finger discount to steal 50 of Apollo's prized white cattle. Hermes stole them by using his cleverness to trick Apollo. Hermes tied brooms to their tails to hide evidence of their tracks, but an oracle ratted on Hermes which infuriated Apollo. Apollo then chased Hermes all the way to Mount Olympus so that Zeus would punish him. But Hermes was just a newborn baby boy and he gave Apollo the first ever lyre that he made to apologize. The lyre played such beautiful music that Apollo, who is the god of music, couldn't resist. Apollo forgave Hermes and Zeus welcomed Hermes onto Mount Olympus where he became the 12th Greek god. Prometheus stole fire from the Greek gods and gave it to humans because he wanted to help the humans rise above beasts. A saint known as the Good Thief was crucified right next to Jesus. Jesus told the good thief that he will come with him to paradise. According to the Bible, the first woman to exist in history was none other than Eve, who stole the apple from the Garden of Eden. Eve was the first human to feel the lust and desire to steal. But if she hadn't stolen the apple, no humans would exist because, in some accounts, Adam and Eve couldn't reproduce until after stealing the apple and receiving the punishment from God. Shoplifters in historical records. The first recorded guides of how society should follow rules were called Hammurabi, created in 2500 BC. Hammurabi stated that harsher punishment should be given to a thief who stole from the rich than those who stole from the poor. In Greece, legislatures during the 6th century BC made it clear that anything stolen, no matter the size or price, should be punishable by a thief's demise. It took hundreds of years for Greek philosophers to discuss the difference between petty theft and serious theft. Plato, the famous Athenian philosopher, philosophized whether or not thieves were born or made. He answered his own question by theorizing that theft results from both nature and nurture. Around the 12th century, thieves were branded on the thumb, when in the past they were branded on the face. Christian philosophers sought to decrease the punishments during this time. St. Thomas Aquinas stated that it's not that bad if a person steals for extreme need. For hundreds of years to follow, thieves were hung for any amount of thievery. By 1771 in England, a young beautiful mother named Mary Jones was hanged after shoplifting a cloth to swaddle her baby. She was in poverty because her husband was away fighting for his country in the American Revolution. This event sparked changes in English laws. Right after the French Revolution, a law was passed that diminished the punishment for pregnant women who shoplifted, but still, 15% of people who stole food in France were killed during the 1790s. Thomas Jefferson even had something to say about the harsh punishments of shoplifting. He proposed abolition of capital punishment for thievery, and by 1792, most states diminished the harsh punishments substantially. The first records of theft date back to 627 AD and the first documented mention of shoplifting is from an account from 1597. The first time shoplifting was officially described, deemed separate from other types of thievery, and given punishment was in 1698, When the Act of Parliament made a death sentence for the crime of stealing goods privately out of shops, the punishment was usually death by hanging. By the early 1700s, shoplifting spread like wildfire, and it wasn't until the 1800s when shoplifting evolved into what it is today. Throughout human history, thievery has had extremely harsh punishments. Thieves were killed for most of human existence. Not until recently have punishments diminished in Western civilization, but harsh punishments, like the amputation of hands, are still being carried out in other parts of the world. War of the Thieves. When it comes down to it, the worst thievery takes place during a war. Whoever wins a war wins the stolen spoils of the losing country. Wars bring stolen money and land to the winning country, and whoever wins gets to write the history books. Politicians, kings, and rulers may claim they have valid reasons for war, but it can be argued that war is solely fought to gain money and power. For example, during World War II the Nazis powered their very expensive evil military, war machines, and other expenditures by stealing money, valuables, and land from the millions of innocent Jews they massacred like cattle. And at the same time, the Japanese were killing Chinese and taking everything they had in the name of their leader who they believed was their god. War is just a justification for countries to steal lives, money, and land from other countries. The United States of Thievery. The United States of America's entire founding is by thievery. America was founded by the murdering thief named Christopher Columbus, who sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Immediately after landing in a place he thought was India, Columbus began his adventurous quest to steal gold. Columbus and his men brutally murdered the natives and treated them worse than dogs. America was stolen from the Native Americans for hundreds of years after Columbus' time. The Cherokee people were forced to walk more than 1,000 miles across America from their homes to Oklahoma in 1838. The Trail of Tears claimed 4,000 lives. Modern shoplifting. The prevalence of shoplifters in America is plausibly much greater than anyone will ever know, but estimates have been made. The NASP recently estimated that 9% of Americans are shoplifters. This means that 27 million Americans shoplift. A study called the National Epidemiologic Survey on Alcohol and Related Conditions in 2001 concluded that a whopping 10% of U.S. citizens are shoplifters, while 11% shoplifted sometime during their lifetime. It's also estimated that 0% to 8% of all shoplifters are kleptomaniacs. A national retail security survey done by the University of Florida in 2009 discovered that $11.69 billion worth of items were taken by shoplifters. This means that 35% of his store's lost items are attributed to shoplifters. Shoplifting can be seen as a cultural phenomenon. A crime tax of about $450 is said to be spent by U.S. families per year as a result of shrinkage due to shoplifting. The cultural phenomenon called shoplifting can be attributed to many factors. Factors such as the rise of large corporate supermarket chains which have replaced small businesses. Other causes can be due to the economic divide that is constantly growing between the rich and the poor. Sadly, this divide is directly caused by the rise of corporations and the fall of small businesses.